Your Honors, the last to be interviewed today will be Senior Vice President and Chief Legal Counsel, Maria Carolina Legarda. She's from the GSIS.
Welcome. Good afternoon, too.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Okay. Attorney Cayusa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Attorney Legarda.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
May I just state for the record that Attorney Legarda and I have known each other since I served as a volunteer lawyer of the Child Justice League, of which she is founding chairperson. Well, I think the first question is, why do you want to become the Chief Justice?
Why do I want to become the Chief Justice? Well, it wasn't on the list of things I wanted to do as I was growing up. Being a lawyer was also not one of the things that I wanted to do growing up. But I realized after I was nominated, and I was nominated by so many people, I didn't want to let them down. And if they felt that I was competent and I could clean up the courts and I could manage and administer the ills of the courts, then I stand to be counted. With everything that I have for the courts and for the litigate and for the lawyers who work with the courts.
Except for your very brief stint at the GSIS,
Yes.
I believe that you have been in the private practice of law all throughout your legal career. What is it in your past that you have accomplished which makes you feel that you are ready to be at the helm of the Supreme Court?
Which we organized and administered in order to ensure that children in conflict with the law and children who have been abused are properly assisted in courts, and that requires a lot of administration and management because we work with the DSWD and all that the government entails in sense of red tape. Despite however brief I was at the GSIS, I cleaned up the law department, organized it into like a law firm, put the lawyers in the places where they should be, found out their strengths and weaknesses, and therefore was able to give the Board of Trustees sort of go-to lawyers. These are the lawyers whom you should go to, let's say, for foreclosures, for contracts, for legal opinions. So I organized them into maybe 5 groups, 3 under litigation and 2 under advisory and legal opinions.
What is your vision for Supreme Court under the Legarda administration?
Somebody once said very recently that the face of the judiciary is actually the person of the judge. The concept of judicial independence, that is extremely abstract for the ordinary person and even for the judges who join the judiciary. So what is it that people understand? Litigants, lawyers, judges. They understand the concept of fairness and impartiality. So when you go to court as a lawyer, and I was a very active practitioner for 32 years, I always know when the judge has rendered justice. Because even if I may lose, I feel that I was treated impartially by that judge. And that is what I think I can bring to the court, the concept of fairness and impartiality. So equity as it might impact on the rule of law.
As a result of the impeachment trial, the concept of justice to be had in our country has become rather remote in the sense that most sectors feel that there is corruption in the judiciary. How do you think you will be able to address that perception, and how would you turn it all around so that people will have faith in the judicial system?
Well, I think a lot of the problem of the corruption in the judiciary, and it is an outrage to me because I know that there are honest judges. I know. I mean, 2 of them are sitting here. 3. Justice Peralta. Sorry, Justice. 3 of them are sitting here. I know that they are honest judges, so it is an outrage to me that there is this sweeping condemnation of the judiciary as being corrupt as a whole. And I think a lot of this has to do with the frustration that people feel when they do go to court and then they file cases against judges and judicial personnel. And it takes so long. So not only do they have to keep facing these judges and judicial personnel because it's taken 5, 7, 10 years for a case to be disposed of, either by the Office of the Court Administrator or even by the Supreme Court, depending on what the case is all about. And there is justice delayed and justice denied, and frustration festers. And worse, the ordinary Filipino, he doesn't understand that the lawyer does not want to go to court against the judge because he knows that he's going to be facing that same judge for his other clients. So it's a wheel, it's a never-ending wheel of frustration which sets in. So I think probably the first thing I will do is to reorganize the Office of the Court Administrator to facilitate and hasten the disposition of complaints against judges and court personnel. Make it fair to the personnel so that cases against them do not languish, thereby preventing their promotion to higher positions. And fair to the litigants, because at least when they go to court, they know that in a few months, this judge whom they are now facing may either be suspended or maybe declared innocent of whatever heinousness was charged against him. So I think that's the first thing that needs to be done. When judges and court personnel know that the axe will fall, and it will fall quickly and exceedingly small, I think the concept of corruption may be addressed.
Perhaps it may help that you are able to monitor how the courts are doing, the lower courts are doing. What do you propose would be a good way of monitoring the performance of judges?
The problem right now with the way that judges are being evaluated is that all judges are evaluated under the same standards and criteria. So a family court judge, where some cases never end, support, visitation, these things never end. Custody. The family court judges are evaluated on exactly the same standards and criteria as a judge of another court, let's say environment, or let's say commercial courts, who do not have the same number of cases. So I think that monitoring them, I will probably suggest to the court that we change standards and criteria, monitor the caseload, perhaps think about asking if there is a constitutional amendment, perhaps think of asking them to return the constitutional provision that the Supreme Court need not give facts, issues, and the reason why you're dismissing the case in one. This takes a lot of time, when in fact many cases should never have even gone to the Supreme Court. So I'm sort of looking at something like the U.S. Supreme Court, where everyone knows that they will only handle X number of cases every year.
If you were to look back, was there something that you would have done otherwise, especially with respect to the promotion of children and women's rights?
Would I have done something otherwise? Maybe I would have earlier begged the Supreme Court to implement the Family Courts Act and stop the designation, which is still ongoing, of family court judges to the RTCs. Up to now, they're just designated. So we have a lot of judges there who are just not interested in handling family cases because well, they don't understand the psyche of the child, the family member going to court, the person who has to undergo the judicial system. So maybe so. But when we handled the prosecution of the former congressman rapist, there were still no family courts. When I was appointed by the Supreme Court as counsel de officio of a woman on death row, well, women in death row cases do not go to family courts. So this is something else I would ask, that there are some cases which perhaps should go to family courts, and they should stop designating and actually appoint men and women who are interested in doing that kind of work. Because women cases do not go to family courts either. They go to the ordinary courts.
Thank you, Attorney Legarda. What is your opinion with respect to restorative justice? Do you think that we should limit the application of restorative justice to minors, or that we should expand its application?
I always understood the concept of restorative justice when we were helping students before, when I was a practitioner, when things happened. I always understood the concept of restorative justice to apply to all. That imprisonment and punishment was meant to be to assist the person return to the community. Unfortunately, I suppose it's a function of budget. Those who we bring into the court and the penal system and then incarcerate actually become even more criminalized in the prisons. Restorative justice, I think, is good because, especially if this is the first time you've done it. I mean, we're human beings. We all make mistakes. Kahit one mistake. The concept of restorative justice, I think, will bring back a lot of goodwill in the courts, especially when the ordinary man is picked up on the street because he is like